We're back continuing our conversation with the president of California State University Long Beach, Dr. F. King Alexander. Mr. President, you just made a comment between commercials about this generation and the next generation.
Well, I find it fascinating and interesting, and it should be actually appalling to many people, that the United States, along with Germany, among all the 30 OECD countries, we actually have a better educated older generation than we have younger generation. So they have completed degrees more, they've had more opportunity, they had more or less costly opportunity, much more affordable for them. And now we are only one of two nations where our 25 to 34-year-olds are less educated than our 55 to 64-year-olds.
And the American philosophy has always been opportunity and the future and optimism. And now we seem to be going backwards educationally, as you point out, and also the debt that we're burdening our next generation with.
Well, the debt, and then just go into, if you haven't been in a local school, go into the local school. The largest class sizes in America are in California. The highest student to guidance counselor ratios, 3 times the national average, are in California. Schools that are built for 2,500 house 5,000 in many of the high schools, or even our local high schools. And nobody seems to get upset about this.
And former Governor Pat Brown created this master plan for higher education, which worked so well for so many years with the UC system, with the CSU system, our system, and the community colleges. Worked like a charm.
Well, but it was premised on the fact that this is a partnership between, we would do our jobs as we're doing them, and we're going to graduate 9,100 students. Once again, one of our largest. However, the citizens continue to back out of the responsibilities, and our legislature continues to remove itself from the other half of that master plan.
Well, there's a saying which I'd like to quote here: if you think education is expensive, try ignorance. And we pay a big price for shorting education at all levels.
Education is an upfront investment, and it's a limited upfront investment that if you make now, the state and the citizens, not only the individual, but the other citizens in the neighborhood, everybody around you will benefit by having a higher educated working class, labor class, whether they're engineers, school teachers, or nurses. We know we need all these people. And the only places that are going to be able to produce them are our higher education institutions.
And you referenced earlier the front page article in The Economist on California as a dysfunctional democracy. We need to reform our political system if we are to get these budgetary priorities right.
Well, it is, and now we're spending about $55,000 per prisoner, and the investment on each and every one of my students is about $5 at Cal State Long Beach.
We need redistricting reform, which we have, and we'll see the results shortly. Open primary is a good thing, but we also need a reform of the initiative and referendum process, and I think we need to lengthen term limits. We need people to be around when the chickens come home to roost for their lousy votes.
And the Economist pointed out that there's so many special interests in California pushing and pulling the state and the decisions going in each. I would hope our special interest groups could come together to see the macro picture even better and understand what we're really trying to achieve here is a stronger California, and built through an infrastructure that starts first and foremost with education.
The initiative process of the people has really been co-opted by special interests who parade under good government front names, but really have an economic interest of their own.
And the interesting thing about these various groups is that you can virtually guarantee that Special Interest A has no interest in what happens to Special Interest B through Z. They look to themselves, they help themselves, but indirectly they may be hurting so many other opportunities in the state that we hold dear, that we have built our economy on.
So maybe we can all step back and look at, as the President suggests, the larger picture, and a little bit less of what's in it for me and a little bit more of what's good for our community. We'll be back with the next portion of our show after these messages. We're back talking with the president of California State University Long Beach. Just for the record, this show is being webcast throughout the world during graduation week as part of the commencement ceremonies. And I know King, that graduation is one of your favorite times.
Well, it's one of my favorite times, and it really is when people say, what's your strategic plan as a campus? It's to graduate our students and to do it in ways that we've been creative, innovative, despite the budgetary circumstances. And we've been recognized nationally as one of the best 5 institutions in improving our graduation rates of every student group, every ethnicity, every race, every socioeconomic class. And we've never graduated more, and we've never graduated larger classes. And so they're getting good degrees, and we know they're going on and doing amazing things.
And we're recognized as one of the best best value public institutions.
Once again, recognized as the top 100, within the top 100, I think we're 79th by the latest ranking in Kiplinger's in terms of the best public value. But more importantly, we're ranked #1 by Kiplinger in that same ranking in least amount of student loan debt upon graduation.
And you were very active in getting laws changed that eliminated the banking system, the middleman, from the cost of making student loans.
Exactly. Direct lending legislation that went through 2 years ago. We were one of the institutions, and we took the system with us, who joined us in moving towards direct lending.
And you led the charge in that, and that really saves billions of dollars from going into the banking system, into the pockets of students.
It was an intense lobbying effort to keep us from changing it over, but it has saved $10 billion a year that has gone into the student aid programs to help our students directly.
Well, here in California, we're faced with the budget crisis we were talking about earlier. It's a $24 billion crisis, although now maybe a little bit less because of good economic results. But one of the issues on the table is extension of the current tax level. Speak to that, if you would.
Well, the governor's proposal in the May revise has built in, for us to salvage ourselves, we need to do a number of things. Massive reductions that we talked about earlier, but also the extension of 3 taxes. And getting those taxes extended is the difference between an 18% budget reduction or $34 million budget and almost a $70 million reduction for us. System-wide, that's your difference between a $500 million and a $1 billion. But more importantly, it's the difference between serving 60 to 70,000 more students and not serving those students.
So the governor is asking the legislature to approve, and maybe ultimately it will be the people that will vote, not to raise taxes, but to extend existing taxes. And you said there were 3?
If there are 3, and if they choose not to, I mean, the consequences are going to be very severe. Closure of hundreds of state parks, releasing of prisoners, the fact that we'll increase our fees by a possible 42%. In the coming semester after the budget gets passed. So there are going to be serious, serious consequences to all this.
And that may be on the September or November ballot?
We think we believe that we will have an opportunity to extend those taxes come November.
Closer to home and here on our own campus, there has been some good news with regard to the new facilities.
We've been very fortunate because prior to sort of the economic collapse, we were able to secure funding for a new school of nursing facility, of which we're graduating nearly 500 nurses now. A brand new Hall of Science, one of the most sophisticated science facilities in the West Coast. It opens this summer. It's a $110 million facility. And a brand new student recreational wellness center that the students voted to pay themselves.
And I know you were passionate about that and really were very much part of the design and all, but that wellness center is now being used by thousands of students.
It's already changed campus dynamics. We've had 4,000 students a day in it. At midnight when we close, we're having to usher out 500 students who are still in there exercising. And the importance of that is that this is not just a benefit for our students, but it's an economic issue. If we're not graduating healthy students that are going into the economy, we're going to be dealing with it economically later in life. So the healthier our students get, and the fact that I believe a university education also accompanies the fact that you understand what you need to do to stay healthy throughout your lifetime, this is a win-win. It's a win-win for the society and particularly a win-win for our students who are here more often.
And it's also another step away from the commuter campus, another reason for students to stay here and hang out here.
Exactly. In fact, that's why I have good problems. The students want later hours. They want to be there more often. And the only complaint I think I've heard is from a few of the local bar owners who are who aren't getting the students in there late at night because they're working out.
Other sources as well. But speak for a moment about the relationship between the city and the university. I know you're close with our Mayor Bob Foster, and I know you both believe of the importance of this partnership.
Well, we couldn't have a better mayor in understanding, first of all, sustainability and his environmental impact nationally, but also education. He's a San Jose State graduate, a CSU, former CSU trustee. He understands that this is a university city. And the significance of Long Beach's future is highly contingent upon the education of its children, its students, and its citizens. So we're at the heart and soul of building the future economy of Long Beach so that we will remain an international competitor and national player in this scene.
And many believe, and certainly I do, and I know you do, that you can't have a great city without a great university, and vice versa.
I believe that, well, the great cities of the world have great universities in them, and many of the, and Money Magazine annually ranks some of the best places to live in America, and generally about 8 or 9 of the top 10 are university cities. And cities with great universities, vibrant universities, whether it's the cultural aspects that it brings to the city, or it's the athletic teams, or it's just the access in keeping talented investments in your community.
Historically, people did not think of Long Beach as a university town, but I think increasingly it is being viewed as that.
Well, with the help, and we've got Long Beach City College with 30,000. We have 65,000 higher education students in our community. Yeah. Just the direct monetary and economic impact of those students is felt everywhere in Long Beach.
And that seamless guarantee is still in existence despite these cuts, as I understand it. If you do well, you go from the K-12 to the community to here, and you're guaranteed a seat.
We've protected our local students and given them a guarantee and worked with their parents from 5th grade all the way up so they understand to stay on their students to make sure they're taking the right courses to make sure that they're eligible. And if they're eligible, we're holding a spot for them.
And of course, the President's Scholars Program is a crown jewel in our campus.
In fact, we just had a celebration for President's Scholars in the Japanese Garden, and it went very well, and we graduated about 80 of the most talented students in California, all valedictorians and National Merit Scholars.
Well, I think it's year 6 of your tenure, more or less, and tell us on a personal basis, look back on your experience, and is it what you expected?
Well, what I didn't expect is how small Long Beach is and how well it functions. And Long Beach offers all the big opportunities of a major city, national and statewide city, but it functions very well, and it has great feeling for its university and for its educational system, which has been ranked as one of the best in the country each and every year. So Long Beach is fantastic. It's a fantastic city, fantastic community. And our students and our faculty and staff have put in a lot of efforts in the last 6 years to make sure that our students, make sure that we don't end up like we did in the early 90s when students didn't graduate. Yeah. But now they're graduating in numbers and percentages that the highest we've ever seen.
And I know your children go to Long Beach schools and they love it here.
They do. They're at Wilson High and at Rogers, and they've got friends everywhere, and their schedule's getting as busy as mine.
Okay, we'll be back with the remaining portion of our show after these messages.
Take care of those who are closest to you, from our family to yours. McCarty's Jewelry, since 1932.
I've been a professor here for over 35 years, and I really believe in the importance of higher education. I hope you share that, and as the President suggested, we'll let your legislature know your view on the importance of funding. And Mr. President, we will get out of this somehow, and but final words to our audience.
We need to get out of it together, and in a way that is intergenerational. The success of our retirees are going to be highly contingent upon the success of our current students and future students. And we're all in this together, and California needs to make sure they're making the right investments on the generations that are on the way.
And I know Social Security is dependent, it's down to about 3 working people for each retiree.
Yeah.
These people better be working, and they need an education to be working to pay our retirement benefits.
That's exactly right. And if they don't succeed, then there will be long-term ramifications on every generation.
We're all in it together.
Exactly.
Thank you, Mr. President, for being our guest. Thank you for watching. Please join us next week for the next edition of Straight Talk. Good night, everyone.
Straight Talk has been brought to you by Southern California Edison, the Press Telegram, and remember, Straight Talk is viewable worldwide 24/7 at straighttalktv.com.